The camera flickered to life at 3:47 a.m., capturing what no father ever expected to witness. Marcus Ashford hadn't slept properly in weeks. Ever since his wife Elena passed away from cancer 6 months ago, sleep felt like a betrayal, a luxury he didn't deserve while his 8-year-old son, Oliver, wandered their mansion like a ghost, barely speaking, barely eating, barely existing. The billionaire tech mogul had built an empire on surveillance technology, creating systems that protected corporations and governments worldwide. Now, in his desperation to protect the one person who mattered most, he'd installed cameras throughout his own home. He told himself it was necessary. The new nanny, Claire Rodriguez, came with impeccable references. But Marcus trusted no one anymore. Death had taught him that control was an illusion, yet he clung to it anyway, monitoring every corner of his house from his home office, watching his son through screens because he no longer knew how to reach him in person. Claire had been with them for 3 weeks. She was young, maybe 26, with kind eyes and a gentle manner that seemed almost out of place in the cold marble halls of the Ashford estate. She did her job efficiently, preparing meals Oliver wouldn't eat, organizing activities he wouldn't participate in, speaking to a child who wouldn't respond. Marcus watched it all, his finger hovering over the termination of her contract. Another failure, another person who couldn't break through to his son. But that night, the night that changed everything, Marcus saw something that shattered every assumption he'd made. The timestamp read 3:47 a.m., when movement caught his attention on the kitchen camera. Claire entered, wrapped in an old cardigan, her hair disheveled from sleep. Marcus leaned forward, about to dismiss it as a midnight snack run, when he saw Oliver trailing behind her, clutching the stuffed elephant his mother had given him the week before she died. Marcus's heart seized. Oliver was talking. His son, who hadn't spoken more than monosyllables in months, was actually speaking to Claire, though the camera had no audio. Marcus frantically switched to the camera with sound capabilities, his hands trembling on the keyboard. And she used to make them with chocolate chips shaped like smiley faces, Oliver was saying, his voice small but clear. That was before she got too tired to stand in the kitchen. Claire pulled out a chair and sat down at Oliver's eye level, her full attention on the boy. Your mom sounds like she was really special. What else did you two do together? The floodgates opened. Oliver talked for 20 minutes straight, words pouring out of him like water from a broken dam. He told Claire about his mother's laugh, about how she'd read him 3 stories every night, even when the chemotherapy made her nauseous, about the secret language they'd invented together, about how scared he was that he was already forgetting the sound of her voice. Marcus watched his son cry for the first time since the funeral, watched Claire pull Oliver into her arms without hesitation, rocking him gently as his small body shook with sobs. She didn't offer empty platitudes or tell him everything would be okay. She just held him and let him grieve. I'm so angry at her, Oliver whispered. I'm angry she left me, and that makes me feel like a terrible person. You're not terrible, Claire said softly. You're human. And your mom would understand. Love doesn't disappear just because someone dies. Oliver, and neither does anger or sadness or any of the messy feelings that come with losing someone. It's all part of loving them. Marcus felt his own tears streaming down his face as he watched them. When had he last held his son like that? When had he last let Oliver express anything other than the numb silence they'd both retreated into? The camera captured Claire leading Oliver to the stove, teaching him to make his mother's pancakes at 4 in the morning because that's when the grief had come calling and needed to be met, with action rather than empty words. They measured flour and cracked eggs, and Oliver smiled, actually smiled, when the first pancake came out lopsided and imperfect. My mom always said the ugly ones taste the best, Oliver said. Your mom was a wise woman. But what Marcus witnessed over the following nights revealed something even more extraordinary. He discovered that this wasn't the first time. Claire had been awake at odd hours with Oliver. The logs showed she'd been getting up whenever Oliver had nightmares, which was nearly every night. She'd been reading to him, sitting with him, letting him process his grief. In the middle of the night, when the darkness made everything feel more overwhelming, Marcus watched footage from different days, piecing together a story he'd been too blind to see. Claire bringing in photos of her own grandmother, who she'd lost when she was Oliver's age, sharing her own stories of grief and recovery. Claire patiently sitting through Oliver's angry outbursts when he threw his dinner across the room, calmly cleaning it up and offering him a sandwich instead without judgment. Claire playing the piano, an instrument Marcus didn't even know she could play, and teaching. Oliver the lullaby his mother used to hum. She was doing all of this beyond her job description, beyond the generous salary Marcus paid her, beyond any expectation. She was doing it because she genuinely cared. The revelation hit Marcus like a physical blow. He'd been so consumed by his need to monitor and control, so convinced that he was protecting his son, that he'd failed to actually be present for him. He'd been watching Oliver's life through screens instead of living it alongside him. The breaking point came when Marcus discovered footage from earlier that week. Oliver had asked Claire a question that stopped her in her tracks. "Do you think my dad wishes I had died instead of Mom?" The pain in Claire's eyes was evident even through the camera. "Oh, sweetheart, no. Your dad loves you so much. He's just lost right now, just like you are. Sometimes grown-ups don't know how to handle their feelings any better than kids do. We just pretend we do. He never talks to me anymore," Oliver said. "Not really. He just asks if I ate or if I did my homework, and then he goes back to his office. Maybe he doesn't know what to say. Maybe he's afraid of saying the wrong thing, so he doesn't say anything at all. But that doesn't mean he doesn't care." Marcus closed his laptop, unable to watch anymore. His surveillance system had revealed the truth, but not the truth he'd been looking for. He hadn't discovered a nanny who was negligent or cruel. He'd discovered that he was the one failing his son. The next morning, Marcus didn't retreat to his office. Instead, he found Oliver and Claire in the kitchen, working on a puzzle together. Claire looked up, surprised to see him there at breakfast time, a rarity since Elena's death. "Good morning, Mr. Ashford," she said carefully. Marcus ignored her, his attention fixed on his son. "Oliver, I need to talk to you." The boy's face shuttered closed, that familiar wall of protection sliding into place. But Marcus pressed on. "I've been a terrible father these past few months. I've been so scared of losing you too that I forgot you were losing me. Your mom would be furious with me for that." His voice cracked. "I miss her so much, buddy. Every single day. And I know you do too." Oliver's eyes filled with tears. "You never talk about her." "I know. I thought it would hurt less if I didn't. But I was wrong. Can we talk about her now? Can we remember her together?" What happened next, Marcus knew no camera could truly capture. Oliver launched himself into his father's arms. And they both cried, really cried, for the first time since Elena's death. They talked about her for hours. The funny stories, the hard moments, the million tiny details that made her irreplaceable. Claire quietly excused herself, giving them privacy, but Marcus stopped her. "Claire, wait. I need to thank you. You gave me back my son. You showed him it was okay to grieve, and by watching you do that, you showed me too." She smiled gently. "I just did what anyone would do." "No," Marcus said firmly. "You did what someone extraordinary would do. You saw a broken child and a broken father, and you held space for both of us to heal. That's not ordinary. That's grace." In the weeks that followed, Marcus dismantled most of his surveillance system. He didn't need to watch his son's life anymore. He was living it alongside him. They cooked Elena's pancakes together on weekends. They looked through photo albums and cried and laughed. They went to therapy, both individually and together. They learned that healing wasn't about forgetting or moving on, but about carrying their love forward. Claire stayed with them, becoming less of an employee and more of family. She'd arrived as a nanny, but had become something much more precious, a bridge between a father and son when they couldn't find their way to each other. Marcus eventually told Claire about the cameras, about what he'd witnessed. She wasn't angry, just thoughtful. "Sometimes we need to see ourselves through different eyes to understand what we're missing," she said. She was right. Marcus had installed those cameras to spy, to control, to protect against threats that didn't exist. Instead, they'd shown him the real threat, his own fear and isolation. They'd revealed a truth he never expected, that sometimes the person who needs saving isn't the one you're watching, but the one watching.